Welcome to the Youth Justice Action webinar series hosted by the Office of Youth and Community Restoration. My name is Victoria Birch. I am a member of OYCR's Youth Advisory Board. Um, we have a couple of announcements to share before we get started on the webinar. Please be sure to keep your microphone muted during today's presentation. We welcome you to share your thoughts and questions in the chat throughout today's presentation. Today's webinar will be recorded and posted on the OYCR training resources pages. You will receive a copy of the slides via email following today's webinar. Today's session has been approved for 1 hour of STC credit. To receive credit for attending, you must stay for the duration of the webinar. This session is also pending eligibility for continuing credit with Board of Behavior Sciences. If you are a licensed professional interested in hearing updates about the eligibility for BBS credit, for this webinar, contact us by email for more information. Today's webinar will focus on the published report, Please Don't Give Up on Us, Stories from Youth and Children Incarcerated in California. You will receive a link to this report in just a few moments. In this webinar, you'll hear real stories from young people who have been involved in the justice system and from the community advocates and system professionals who stand with them, showing how we can build systems that truly support healing and change. And with that, I will pass it to Marcia.
Thank you so much, Victoria. I really am excited to be here. First of all, I want to say that I acknowledge the original people of this land. We always do that. And then I really want to acknowledge the ancestors, all of our ancestors, especially for the ancestors of our Youth Advisory Board that have been so incredibly awesome as they worked with Social Changery to put this report together. It's, in my mind, a historic moment to have this wonderful report that I hope you'll all take time to read. At OYCR, the Office of Youth and Community Restoration, led by our director, Catherine Lucero, we've really centered and elevate youth voice and participation in all that we do internally and then certainly as we work externally. And this report is such a reflection of that commitment and also of our work to want to commission this report on behalf of OYCR and done by Social Changery. You'll notice that the themes in this report also run very aligned with the themes of the work that we're doing internally around racial and ethnic equity, gender equity, all the items around equity that we care so much about. They're in this report, as well as you'll notice the issues around healing, and that both with equity and healing, these are essential for creating lasting, meaningful change in justice-involved youth and our communities. I want to extend my sincere thank you to not only the Youth Advisory Board, who you'll over time be meeting, but also to Social Changery for their partnership and for producing such an important and powerful report that we, again, hope you will take time to read. Today, I want to introduce you to our moderators, who will be Emily Jarofsky, Director of Programs at the Social Changery, and Noelani Dennis, the Senior Project Manager at the Social Changery. So let's move forward.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are hoping to start today's conversation with centering our youth voices in the room. Mika and Victoria, we're hoping that you could tell us a little bit about yourself in an introduction and what it is you want people to know about you, maybe including the parts of your story that get missed or are sometimes left out.
Hi, my name is Mika. I'm part of the Youth Advisory Board, and I'm 25 years old. We've been part of the Youth Advisory Board since the working groups. We're both founding members. Victoria, do you want to share a little bit?
Hi, I'm Victoria Birch. As I said earlier, I am one of the founding members of the Youth Advisory Board. We do a lot of works, not only in support with things like the report with Social Changery, amongst other places, but we also go into facilities and support young people who are trying to create advisory boards within their own county facilities as well. Um, yeah, it's nice to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you guys both for being here. In addition to your work with the Youth Advisory Board, are there other pieces of your story that are maybe missed or are left out that we could call to attention or talk about today? Maybe in like getting to know the both of you, are there things that are maybe missed or that you would highlight about your story?
Um, I think that as far as like even though like my story is told like about like my personality wise, I feel like I'm a godmother, I'm a big sister, things like that. Um, I am very family oriented. I That's just a little bit more about me.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I am the child of two people who are both formerly incarcerated. Both my parents were involved in the system, and then my daughter's father was involved in the system. A lot of my loved ones have been involved, and so I grew up with a lot of people around me, just kind of in and out between juvenile halls, jail, prison, in California, outside of California. And I think that that really shifted my perspective on the way I saw the system. And then I also was privileged enough to grow up with one of my parents. My father is an organizer, so I kind of had that political lens already. And then when I was in high school, I was given opportunities to join internships that got me involved in my community. And I think that that's where I learned a lot about uplifting youth voice because then with time, I stayed involved doing this kind of work and was able to end up doing the same and facilitated a fellowship or something like fellowship for transracial age youth that were system impacted as well and helping them uplift their voice. And so I think that that has really helped me want to delve into this work more by wanting to just use my voice and help people that are also impacted by the system um, find their voice and build their confidence in helping people find ways to articulate themselves and getting involved in community rather than just passively watching the system change with time and not having input on it because without our input then how do we know we're going in the right direction because we know that the people closest to the problem are also closest to the solution, and so that's where we're able to step in, give our voice, give our feedback, and be part of the change that needs to happen so we know we're going in the right direction.
I appreciate you sharing that. It kind of leads into our next question about addressing some of our assumptions about justice involved and system impacted youth. Could you both speak to some of the stereotypes or maybe assumptions that justice involved youth face? And then also, how does that get in the way of the support and healing we'd like to lean into?
Personally for me, some of the stereotypes that I have had to deal with and some of like the really rough like assumptions I've had to deal with is that um prior to me starting this work, a lot of people told me I wouldn't amount to anything. Like I graduated high school early and yet I was still told like I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't going to amount to anything. I wasn't going to go anywhere. So there was a lot of harmful assumptions that made me stop wanting to go to school, stop wanting to do this. But then there was also those other people that helped me to like see the power in myself and now I'm on the right track, obviously. But like there's a lot of harmful assumptions in that or like that young people can't change and we can't better ourselves for the future and we can't make that turnaround in order to better ourselves in our communities. Those are a couple of really harmful assumptions I've seen.
I think an assumption that I see a lot is that people involved in the system aren't able to are just criminals and we need to focus on only the youth that are out. But the entire purpose of being involved in the system is supposed to be rehabilitation. So I think there needs to be accountability on all parts. of how can we um, support youth before they're involved in the system, but also if the purpose is rehabilitation, why are youth not being rehabilitated? So, what do we need to change in the system to be able to better support youth and show up for them more, but also going to the root causes of why youth are even being involved in the system? Because at the end of the day, nobody innately just does these things. How can we support youth and get them the proper resources in our communities to be able to do prevention of getting involved with the system?
You both mentioned support there, and I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit more about that. Like, what does the support look like? What is it that you needed to move toward healing, or maybe people that you know? What could that support look like, or has looked like for you?
For me, like the support looked like somebody who actually listened and not only listened to just like say that they listened to a young person, but like really heard what I was saying and really saw the value in what I had to say and who I was. And they seen a lot of the like one of my mentors told me that I was gonna do really big things, really important things. And just a couple days before that, folks had told me I wasn't gonna go anywhere. So it was that person that told me that I could that helped me to convince myself, like, yeah, I can. And you know what? If I'm good at this, why not make this into my passion? Why not make this into like where my life goes? Because at the end of the day, um, part of my healing has been helping other people that are in the system. Part of me making a difference in myself is making a difference in others, because a lot of the time you can't see the difference that you make within yourself. You always see like where you could go further, but me helping my community and the communities throughout the state has really been something that has helped me heal.
I think for me, one thing that always comes to mind is how are we getting resources supported to youth? And it's not even just about the individual, but we all are human, and to be able to thrive properly, we it requires having community, having support systems. And so how are we supporting the families as well of the youth that are getting involved in the system? So creating opportunities like family therapy, anger management, not just for the youth when they're involved in the system, but also for the family. How do we support that youth? Making sure that that home is getting like the proper like food is a basic thing, or like little things like is like clothes, rides to school, are these things being met? Like how are we making sure that these people like people are being their basic needs are being met? Basic needs always need to be met. And then also just youth that are in the system. YB has several members that are in this incarcerated currently. And how are we being able to get them involved in things like YB? Some counties are harder to work with than others. And so how do we make sure that opportunities like this are being available, are made available to them? And how can we show up? How can we make sure that they feel like their voice matters, that they're able to make changes, that them even speaking up is worth the value?
Thank you so much for sharing and starting this conversation. Throughout the other panelist pieces, we're going to bring you guys back in to answer some questions as well. So this is not going to be the last time we're hearing from you. We wanted to pose a reflection question before we move on to our second set of panelists with our community organizations. We've saved some space at the end to answer questions, but if we could reflect together or think maybe in the chat and share what one idea is that is resonating with you from this conversation, or something that you are thinking about a little bit differently. Uh, we'll look out for anything that comes through. Hopefully, we're sparking some ideas together.
And as we're waiting for some of those to come through, I just want to call out to, I think, as we're having this conversation talking about, the theme overall is thinking about that narrative shifting and, the way that the stereotypes, right? And I think highlighting what Victoria said here was just what a difference, right? That someone's belief had in your own mindset and in your success and in your belief in yourself, right? Other people's belief in you really shifted your belief in yourself and how big of a barrier just those stereotypes and assumptions can be to your success and healing, right?
I think I'm having some people echo that sentiment in the chat. So that's
Yeah,
nice to
I
see.
see one here, and I think we heard this a lot in the report when we talked to young people, which was it just took one person to positively influence or support, right? And to propel them to success. It wasn't always this whole big group, or it was just a single person, oftentimes was the difference maker.
I think that that's actually something that's very important to me because I feel like recently we see a lot of language being co-opted. And so one thing that I'm hearing a lot is credible messengers, but I really think that that needs to be um, made sure that we all have an aligned idea of what that really is because I think a credible messenger really needs to be someone from the community, not someone that's part of the system. It needs to be someone that's also impacted, that understands where the youth perspective is coming from, someone that the youth can really respect. It shouldn't just be like, just because someone was involved doesn't mean it's always someone that's going to resonate with you. So I really think that credible, like intentional people being a credible messenger and ally to the youth is important, and also not facing backlash from this from the institutions that they're working with. So if we have someone that's going into the juvenile hall and they're advocating for the youth and they're because certain things aren't being met, maybe it's even something that's simply on the Bill of Rights and isn't supposed to even be getting messed with, but already is. How do we know that there's not going to be backlash from the staff? And which is why we also see a lot of youth scared to even have to do, why am I blanking? Sorry, it's a very Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Monday-esque vibes. Do the yeah. Anyways, Victoria, do you have anything you want to say?
I think you covered it for that part. I feel like, yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing. And like Noelani said, we're going to bring you back in our next section here, but we want to bring on some of our community partners who have helped on the report or help with OYCR in other capacities. So I think we're going to get all of you spotlit here in just a second. And then if you could all take a moment to introduce yourself, and then if you could share, a little bit about the work that you do, but really what we want to hear from you all is what do you wish that systems really understood about the youth that you work with alongside every day, and also the services that your organization provides to those youth and to those young people. And I'll have it kicked off. I'll have Kent kick us off.
Uh, Thank you. Appreciate it. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Kent Mendoza. I'm the policy director for the Anti-Recidivism Coalition based in California, Sacramento, but I'm based in LA. I am also formerly incarcerated. I was incarcerated from the age of 15 to 20. I've been out for 12 years now. Consider myself a credible messenger. Yeah, so I guess, one of the things that we do at my organization, so I actually began this work when I was released as a young kid. I was 20 years of age when I started doing this type of work. I jumped right into this work. That was in 2014. Haven't stopped ever since. And I think, one of the things that our organization provides, we have grown. We have a transitional age youth department, TAY department, which is transitional age youth, right? Which is 25, 26 and under. And, we basically, I personally work with empowering young people to be civically involved in their communities at the local, state, and federal level. So empowering our young people to live with conviction, change hearts and minds and perspectives about how the systems look at brown and black individuals. And that's what we do at our institution, try to empower them to lead with conviction, storytelling, and change the laws that are going to cater to a better, just system that is actually helping kids. And we do a lot of services. We provide services when they come home from incarceration. We go inside juvenile housing camps to mentor them. We have credible messengers that go inside juvenile housing camps that meet with them. And we basically work with young people and meet them where they're at. And when they get out from incarceration, we have a department that focuses just in supporting them in education, careers. They want to do film production. We have a whole dorm where they could live at. We have housing for them. They could pursue construction. So we have a lot of things that they offer them. And we don't, because academia is not only the only pathway to success. Young people are capable of doing many other things, and we just need to create that infrastructure. And I think that my organization is doing that. But there's many amazing organizations out there doing the same work we're doing. We just happen to have do that in LA with our members. So that's what we focus on. I'll pass it back. I don't want to spend too much time talking.
Julia, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ken. I feel like you covered a lot. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to jump in. Okay, so my name's Julia, Julia, or Juju. Any of those names work for me. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the executive director of the Young Women's Freedom Center. I too myself am formerly incarcerated. But I like to always start at the beginning of my system involvement at the age of 4 years old, because I believe that there's this piece of being dual system impacted in the foster care and juvenile justice system. And those systems, it's really hard for them sometimes to work together, as we all know. And so what I can just say is like Young Women's Freedom Center, we're a leadership and advocacy organization. We're over 32 years old. We have been this leadership incubator that deeply invests and believes in young people that have been navigated the underground street economy, poverty, violence, incarceration. We hire, train them as community organizers, facilitators, researchers, a whole list of things. So our philosophy is around self-determination and critical pedagogy, and using education as a practice of freedom. And that comes to us in many different ways. What I can say is that young people are the experts. They are the experts of their own lives. As a young person navigating the system at a really young age, I can tell you that I hadn't even experienced a hug. Like it was actually just speaking to system partners inside of here. If somebody hugged me, they'd be breaking the rules. So one of the things that is removed from you is that love piece, right? And that family and that community and those kind of things. And if really quickly, I could just tell you a story that we have this ceremony. It's called Shilonen, and it's a rites of passage for young girls that are coming of age. And there's this time, because I'm a Mexica dancer too, and this has been part of my healing journey, is there's this moment where the girl is surrounded by all the grandmothers in the community, all the women warriors, and then there's another layer where there's the men inside of the community, and it keeps going out and out, right? And this young person is receiving all these gifts and messages. And this is things that happen locally in California. These groups are everywhere throughout. And one thing, because I have been involved with this work for so long, is I was thinking about it and I said, wow, this is the sacred age that we're working with inside of, with all of us working with juvenile justice. This is their rites of passage time. And there's people like the Hayward Burns Institute that's done a massive amount of investment and research into this. And anything that is too long inside of the system is counterproductive. Children are very resilient and they learn to adapt to whatever situation it is. At one point in my life, I learned how to do time. I can do long amounts of time isolated by myself. I know how to program up. I know how to do those things. And I can see other children learn to just
accept the things that are around them. And I think that we really have to push ourselves outside of the box to really think about how do we saturate a young person? And just like those girls experience inside of that ceremony, how do we remind them of their greatness, where they come from, that they come from strong people, and the love that could actually exist for them. So I think that the last thing that I would just like to close up to say is that it is beyond just one grant cycle. It's beyond just one experience inside of the system where it ends. It's long-term support that actually throughout somebody's life that is the most impactful. We can only plant seeds along the journey. That is it. All of us are just entrusted to be part of this and plant seeds. And in the end, really what we have to do is be able to support them throughout their journey, because we don't want to build up the muscle just to become reliant so much on us. We want them to be able to be the next leaders. So I don't know, that's just what came, and that's came to me to offer to this group. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. I have a follow-up that I'll have everybody answer, especially when we bring our youth back based off of that. So thank you. And then last but not least, we have Arturo here.
Thank you. My name is Arturo Soriano. I spent over 23 years of incarceration. I experienced system-induced trauma, inhumane isolation, torture. While I was in CDCR, I had no resources. And so when I re-entered back into the community, I see Miss Mindy McCartney here, had a great probation officer. Her husband put a plan in place, was off the system within 6 months. But this is what he told me. He mandated me 7 classes per week. So I went with the process. And while going through the process is when we founded Youth Empowerment. Out of community engagement, boots on the ground, Toronto Park, just connecting with our youth individuals and families that have been impacted by the justice system. Credible messenger pioneer here in San Diego County with several other organizations. And we began this process of having these difficult conversations with county board of supervisors, public safety, probation. How do you work with individuals that have that experience with violence in institutions? And so probation with Youth Empowerment, Project Aware, Say San Diego, we're able to receive that first contract, which left us empowered, right? It left us like, okay, we're accomplishing something. And so into that process, in our adult reentry grant, we were able to build that relationship with the adult reentry population with Probation County here in San Diego County. I say that to say that, policies and advocacies is great and it's needed, but we need to build in these relationships with these systems and work with them, right? And have these conversations with them that are difficult, that are going to support these youth-centered approaches to credible messenger organizations. And what are credible messengers? I heard this young lady earlier talking and advocating for credible messengers. We're individuals that have that experience, that same shared lived experience from the community. We're able to de-escalate violence. We're able to have that cultural proficiency. We know how to de-escalate that. We already have the relationships with the tias, the uncles, the neighbors, right? The people down the block. And so that's well established into the community, and we understand the culture. Not the culture from the date of that when that young person was born, but let's go back to the culture 100 years, 200 years, right? And so really, really diving deep into that process and really understanding that, and also for credible messengers, what's the roles and responsibilities that we have to our people, to our youth individuals and families that we're serving? Are we doing the right thing when no one's looking, and having that conversation with individuals that have this superpower gift, right? But all that comes with different trainings and being there supportive and going through the process. So our hallmark is credible messengers from the movement from Washington, D.C. with Clint Lacey and Ruben Austria out of New York. And so that's our hallmark, the credible messenger approach. We're a staff of 20, and 90% of our staff, former lifers, did 35 years, 40 years, 20 years, right? So combined, I think we have a combination of probably 1,000 years combined together. But that's the beauty of it, and bringing in diverse cultures, Black, Latino, white, Asian. And so that allows us to really identify into the culture and neighborhoods within this community so that we could flex that superhero strength that we have here in San Diego and show the love elsewhere. So for me, that's been the blessing for me from the very gate, being able to be received warmly by a system. And my ask is for other systems and probation here in San Diego is to, take a leap of faith to other credible messenger organizations and build a relationship with them organizations, because Youth Empower can't do it all. Project Aware can't do it all. Like, community wraparound can't do it all. We need a lived experience coalition built in and systems working with us to build healthy communities. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. And I want to bring Victoria and Mika back in and ask a follow-up to everyone here. And Victoria and Mika, if you have anything to respond to or share based off of what we just heard, please add that. But one thing that got touched on a lot here that I want to highlight or have you all kind of respond to is how important is that connection to the community and to culture for the young people when it comes to their healing and it comes to their success in the long term, right? Both short term and long term. So that connection both to their community and access to that, as well as their culture. Can if anybody wants to, I'll open it up for anyone to kind of share or add to that.
I can go. I think that that's something that everyone here on the panel has already brought up. So I think that that's something that the systems really need to understand, that cultural relevancy really does make such a difference. Having people from the community makes a difference. And I think that when you get people involved in healing opportunities like that, that we really see people, it strikes their interest, it gets them intrigued. And it has to really be people that they feel understood by, because we're humans, we want to feel understood, we want to feel seen. And it takes someone having that perspective to be able to do that properly. I know that I don't know if anyone's familiar, but Communities United for Restorative Justice, Courage. I'm always gonna shout out my folks. But they do a lot of violence interruption, and so one thing we see there is people doing first response to violent crimes that happen in Oakland. And so when we do that, we offer the people who have lost their loved one ceremony, and when we offer that ceremony, that gives people a way to grieve, to feel and process everything that they just experienced. And without directly doing it, you're also doing violence prevention, because when you give people an opportunity to heal, they're not feeling just that pain without having an outlet. And it's a safe outlet. It's a culturally relevant outlet. It's done by in your community, by your community, and so it makes people less responsive, and that feeling of retaliation that happens a lot. And so you bring people in rather than calling them out, rather than letting them just sit and marinate in hurt. And so that's how we really can get people engaged. And then a lot of the time too, like people will be like, look, I'm going through it, I really need this, and they'll come back and ask for ceremony again. It's not just a one-time thing, but something that builds people a sense of community as well, and a community that allows them to heal and process and feel safe into creating men's group and women's groups, and how do we support each other and show up for each other, because we all need community, we all need connection.
Thank you. I feel like we could have a whole hour just dedicated to this conversation right here. Victoria, so you come off mute, so I want to let you share. But I'm going to real quickly pose a question, a reflection question to the chat. So as we listen to Victoria, I want you all to be able to kind of answer in the chat here. But like listening to this conversation, what's something that's resonating with you, or that maybe is that you're thinking about a little bit differently after hearing this. And then Victoria, go ahead.
I was also just gonna kind of piggyback off of what was being said about like the culturally like appropriate and very like inclusive and supportive like things that can be done. I think that that's really important because if you build community, you're gonna have less chances of recidivism because now you're not only connected like on a healing level, but like now you're doing things in the community, you're building a community with people, and the more relationships you have that are there to support you and help you heal and help you build, the more chances you have of succeeding in whatever you want to succeed in.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So thank you all for sharing. Like I said, we've got short time to share here. We're gonna actually bring in now our system partners to share a little bit and answer a couple questions for us too. And we're doing it in this format because that's actually how we built the report as well. So you'll see whenever you're able to dig into the report, hopefully where we were able to talk not just with youth, but also with our community partners and with system champions to hear about the work that they're doing and how having this approach has really benefited the young people and benefited them too in the work that they do. So as we get folks on here, I'm going to ask a similar question that we asked to our community partners here. But if you could just introduce yourself and the work that you do. And really what we want to hear, though, is if you could share a little bit about how you kind of came to this point of being an ally to the youth within the system, making that if you made a shift, what kind of led you to that, or what led you to this work and being that kind of partner and ally. And I'm gonna actually have Mindy kick us off because you already got called out earlier. So I'll let you start.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mindy McCartney. I'm a program director with SBCS, a local nonprofit here in San Diego. Yes, hi, Arthur. So my journey to where I am today started with probation in San Diego. I worked as a probation officer for a little over 21 years. I finished my career as the division chief at East Mesa Juvenile Detention Facility, which is where I currently work again. So I was always kind of an ally. I don't feel like I've changed a lot, which is why at times I struggled in probation, I'll be honest, because I wasn't the real like heavy-handed law enforcement leaning type. Although I had a very successful career, I think because I was able to find balance in that. And then I left probation, I retired, and I was hired with SBCS. I ran a couple programs in the community for youth on probation. And then my agency was awarded the contract with the Secure Track Youth. So once DJJ closed in 2023, I came back into the facility, the same facility I ran as the division chief, to start up the programming for the Secure Track Youth, which we in San Diego called the Youth Development Academy. So now I have a pretty large team here inside the facility, and we do all the case management, group facilitation, we assist with college, we do programming, we do some CTE, job readiness, and we work with the youth their entire commitment as well as 6 months post-release. So I'm very familiar with all of our credible messengers in San Diego. I've worked with Arturo for a long time. I've been to his wedding, like we're very good friends. So having those connections in the community, both professionally and personally, I think just puts me in a better position to support our youth and get them in the best place for when they do re-enter the community and have the best shot at having those community connections and just being able to get back into things. We've had really good successes. We've had some challenges and failures as well. But we've had some kids who have got out and been super successful. We just had one transfer straight to Fresno State. So, exciting things are happening. And we've got four that just got their AA degrees, and two are going to San Diego State. So really cool things. And I have an excellent team who, I really connected with Julia saying the hug thing. As a probation officer, like there were so many times working in juvenile hall where you knew like this kid just needs a hug and you can't do that. Even to this day, like dapping up a kid, really isn't supposed to be done, but we still do it because they just need that human connection sometimes. So, love, hugs, basic needs being met, like other people talked about that. I think it was Mika. So that's what we're here to do is as the supporting agency inside the facility and continuing to work with them out is just provide that support to these youth.
Thank you. Lieutenant Davey, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Lieutenant Davey. I'm a division manager in our juvenile detention facility in Madera, California. Yeah, I'm kind of like Mindy. I don't think much has changed with me over my career. I'm in my 26th year. There hasn't been like an aha moment. I think I've always been an advocate for what's right. It doesn't really matter. It's pretty much in all areas of my life. I'm blessed. I enjoy my role in this, and from the facility standpoint, because I believe there's a happy medium to both. I love what was happening. I love what the OYCR is bringing. I think speaking on behalf of Madera, we're a little different because we're a little smaller. I work hand in hand with Crystal. She's done absolutely amazing with us, and a lot of our stakeholders here. It just comes together. It's just as if you have positive, like-minded people. I don't think one group has. It's like anything else. No one has the exact right answer, but I think together we can all come together to make it the best it can absolutely be. We here, I couldn't be more proud. Our secure track, for being as small as we are, we're doing phenomenal things. We also have a youth going to Fresno State. We have another youth that was just was released on least restrictive placement. He was non-documented. We spent thousands of dollars, hundreds and hundreds of hours through Mexican consulates. We're able to get him his driver's license, got him his bank account. He left here making $40 an hour. Went and he has his own residence. He still checks in with me, and he doesn't have to actually ask him to kind of stop. He still will call me 2 or 3 days out of the week just to ask what I'm doing. Am I all right? He knows that I've been stressed lately. We have a really great relationship with him. But again, I just think it's the same thing that everybody's talking about is working together from all angles, from all organizations, from belief systems to make sure that we're kind of all looking at it and seeing it from each other's perspective. And I think as long as we do that, you really can't go wrong. I think at times, even some advocacy groups, somebody challenged me recently and came at me kind of hard, I guess, from their experiences. But again, let's not loop each other into what we're watching on the news and other things. Are those who are true allies. I will do anything and absolutely anything for the youth in our population. But there are also a lot of people, that need to be understood and given. It's a lot. It's a lot for people to understand. There's a lot of people out there who don't understand how a kid gets 5 years for murder because that family out there will never see their kid again. So I have to meet in the middle, and I wear a lot of different hats, and you got to find whatever's the happy median. But regardless of it, is these youth have an opportunity, and change is something that we in this county and the amazing support groups we have are very passionate about. And we look forward to these opportunities. I love being a part of this. I look forward to many more. And in the future, I would like to have 2 or 3 of our youths on here who would love to be advocates and to get them to be advocates and to give their stories and continue this passion and continue to be a part of the change. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Crystal, would you like to go next?
Hi, yes, my name is Elisa Judy. I am a chief deputy with the Riverside County Probation Department, and I have been with the department for the last 25 years. And so I just wanted to thank OYCR for the invitation, and also thank our young people who opened up and were vulnerable and shared their experiences. And so I see that we have about 186 people online listening in. And I just want to take the opportunity to let you know, and I appreciate the different journeys that everybody has had that's on this call. But I can tell you for myself, my fellow people from probation on here, that we truly got into this line of work because we wanted to affect change, because we wanted to collaborate and walk alongside. And I understand that sometimes that can be difficult or it doesn't feel right. Like it was shared. Touching systems since you were 4 years old, you're going to have feelings about systems, and I completely understand that. For me, like you said, what's the aha moment or we're becoming an ally? We've always been in this line of work to help. The biggest key for us, though, it's like being on a sports team or a football team. When a quarterback can appreciate their wide receiver and vice versa, and they are executing those roles efficiently and effectively, that's when the team wins. And so when we have a shared outcome and vision, and we can understand and agree that we both want the same thing when we're talking about community collaboration and systems such as probation departments, when we're focused on the goals, then it's all about the win. And so for us, that's really been the big thing, is looking at the big picture, identifying the key people in the community that are change makers, that are willing to work together. At Riverside Probation, we're currently looking at doing a joint pilot where we're going to have youth and being able to offer up that mentorship with someone in the community right at the get-go, to give the family that support, to, like everything that's been said. You want people that maybe you feel like can understand, that's walked in your shoes and different things. And we want to be able to provide those opportunities. And so to be able to provide that mentorship along with where the probation officer role is. So for me, that's what I wanted to share. I did want to see if I have Olivia Cerna, director, if she wanted to add anything in this space on that topic.
Hi, my name's Olivia Cerna, and I am a division director here in the Riverside County Probation Department. And I have been here for 24 years. Just kind of echoing some of the things that everybody's already talked about. I heard the former San Diego division chief saying that, she felt like she was always an ally. And I've always felt that way as well. I started in this work, an internship at a county office of education program, working with high schoolers at that time while I was in college. And that was really my first introduction to working with justice involved youth. And I just fell in love with them. They were hilarious. And I was happy to be there to mentor them, to help them with their schoolwork at that time. And then that kind of just naturally led into the progression of me being a probation officer and just really having the fortune of being assigned to work with youth. Again, my love for them continued. I've worked in a variety of assignments, so in supervision, but also with our placement youth, our dual status youth. So a lot of the different justice involved youth that you have all mentioned. And then now I have the opportunity to work in our Transforming Juvenile Probation initiative and really training those new generations on the spirit of what we're all trying to do to achieve those goals. And sometimes that's challenging for the reasons already stated. Mindsets, getting everyone to understand. I always go back to, what is your purpose? Why are you here? If you ask a probation officer, why did you do this line of work? They're almost all going to say, to help people. And my next question is, what does that mean to you? What does that truly mean? And just continuing the education of that we work with the community and our community partners. And what does that mean to you? And how can that benefit us as well as the probation department? Because as somebody put in the chat, it takes a village. We can't do everything. We shouldn't do everything. We're not the right people to do everything. And how do we bring our community, our credible messengers, and everything that already stated into the work that we do? Very exciting times in Riverside County. As Elisa mentioned, we're moving into developing the youth boards because we understand, for the reasons everyone stated, how important it is to have that youth and parent voice in our policies and our practices. Again, something very scary and uncharted, for an institution that's been around for over 100 years. But I think the beautiful thing of that is just understanding that we have to think outside of the box, not being afraid, understanding that we're all on the same team, as Elisa mentioned, to reach the goals. And so just being innovative and open-minded so that we can all be the best we can be, so that all the youth that we work with can have the best possible future and outcomes for their lives.
Thank you. And then Crystal, if you would like to introduce yourself and the work you do, and then we're going to bring the youth back in for just some final thoughts here too. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. Thank you, OYCR, for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. My name is Crystal Navarro. I am the regional coordinator for the Rising Scholars Network in the Central Valley, but I've also been called upon by the Chancellor's Office to oversee the entire state for our juvenile justice programs that we have inside and serving our youth on campuses. So pretty exciting. I do work very, very closely with a lot of different probation officers, but I am justice impacted myself. I think my first time with justice involvement, I was about 13 years old. So to be here in this space, I think is just a testament of how far we have come. I know we have a long way to go, but the progress that we've made with probation and just correctional partners, it's good. It's good progress, and it is a good time. The Rising Scholars Network, what we do is we support our students so that they can complete their degrees, transfer to universities like we've heard, which I am seeing more and more of that. Very exciting. And just create a life that they, envision for themselves. Additionally, I think our mission is just to kind of provide that wraparound support that they need and to really support them in whatever it is that they want for themselves by having strong connections to our communities. Working with our practitioners to support and receive our students in a welcoming manner where they feel that sense of belonging and know that they belong on campuses, they belong in classrooms. These are future leaders, the young people that I work with, because I am also the regional coordinator for the PEP program. Providing like direct programming inside. And so that's something that I enjoy. It's, like life skills, talking with them, guiding them, mentoring them, providing support once they, return to the community. And so it's a lot of work. And I think, like Olivia said, we can't, nobody can do it all. And so, for the Rising Scholars Network on our campuses, we do what we can to support them the best that we can. But we also understand that we need our communities and the organizations out there. We need, probation to work with us inside to allow us those opportunities to get in there, make those connections, just really improve their educational access, whether it's dual enrollment or whatever it is that they want to pursue, because we do know that educational intervention is really, really big on reducing recidivism. So I'm just happy to be here. Thank you for the youth voices. The youth advisory committee is great. The youth advisory board, I have been hopping on for a long time, way before this. And so just really, happy to hear what they have to share with us, because they are the experts. They know what they need. And we just want, I just want you to know that we are here to support you. And it's amazing people like Lieutenant Davey, changing cultures, really. It's a different culture there. They treat their young people like no other facility pretty much that I have been in. It's very common to see them all playing volleyball together, just spending time with them. Our young people inside are hurting. They need support. I'm sorry if I get emotional. It just they're going through a critical period in their development where the way that we work with them can really, really either, impact them positively or negatively. And so, I'm just really happy and honored to enter spaces with them and share in their journeys as they navigate that system and hopefully, off towards better lives once they return. But yeah, so I'll end there and just saying thank you. Thank you so much to OYCR, everyone on the call, the Chancellor's Office, Rising Scholars Network, PEP, Dr. Reese, of course, and just thank you all for helping.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I know we're short on time, but I want to bring Victoria and Mika back in. and just give you all an opportunity to share, or respond to anything you heard. But I think particularly what it means to have folks like who we just heard from in your corner, right? Who are working within the system, who are those partners, are those champions, are those allies. What does that mean for you and for other youth that you know? If you could share a little bit, and then we'll move right into closing. I think Victoria, I think you're closing for us, so I'll let you just kind of take us there once you've had an opportunity to share.
Mika is actually doing our
Oh, okay.
closing.
Well, then we'll let Mika.
I will get us started off. I just wanted to say that I think that it's really important to have people in young people's background supporting them, believing in them, because at the end of the day, like you're supporting like leadership development. You guys are supporting like the youth and how it shows them to invest in themselves and into their future. I think that that's extremely important. Um, Especially when you guys are doing it properly and holding high expectations of the young people at the same time, like giving them the opportunity and the space to have their moments where they struggle, but they just giving them the grace to be young people, but still holding them to high expectations all at the same time. Like every mistake is not a complete failure, every struggle is not even going to be a mistake. um so I think that that's really, really, really important. um and I just wanted to say thank you all to everybody who is on these calls with us.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone, including our system partners that are on the call and have taken the time to be part of this webinar and listen in on what we share. I really hope that it resonated for people and that youth voice isn't just used to push an agenda, but youth voice is the agenda. And there's implementation in getting youth perspective involved in everything that's happening. And I appreciate those that really fight to make that happen.
Thank you all so much for sharing and for taking the time. Like I said, I wish we had 2 hours to be able to have this so everyone could share more. But I'll hand it over to Mika to close for us today. But I did just want to thank again everyone who came, everyone who shared, who helped participate in creating the report itself. Especially to our YAB members who shared their stories, reviewed every single piece of it, and contributed to it, wrote parts and sections of it as well too. We're just so thankful and we're so grateful to have been able to be a part of this work, and for all the work that you all are doing. So, Mika, if you wanna close us out.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone that was a speaker today, the moderators, and just for sharing the important information that came out in this report. I know we're all looking forward to seeing it. And the QR code was shared earlier on how to get access to it, was also shared in the chat. And just want to thank everyone for being part of the webinar. There is a few closing announcements. We want to remind everyone that this webinar recording will be available on the OYCR website by the end of this week, and you'll receive a copy of the slides via email. We also welcome you to take the survey to provide feedback on your experience in today's webinar. The link is available in the chat. And then please save the date for the next webinar in the Youth Justice Action Series on Tuesday, September 16th at noon, where we will discuss the soon-to-be published report on the implementation of SB 823. The link to register is in the chat as well and will also be sent out if you're part of the, you receive emails from OYCR. And this concludes today's webinar. Thank you for joining us again, and we hope to see you next month. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.